Computer.
What's going
Welcome
on,
to a
everybody?
Combo Business Bros and Energy.
What's going on, everyone?
We're ready to rock and roll today. So Brian hit me up. He's like, dude, I'm bored. I got quarantined. I'm like, me too.
Bro,
He's like,
hey, check it out. So, day one of quarantine, who knows? So I rekindled this park with my imaginary friends, and turns out, dude, they're freaking huge. They've grown so much.
you haven't talked to him in many, many years?
Bro, it's been a lot of years. Trust me when I say that.
Is that one of you
They're
behind
doing
you right
well.
there? The little fuzzy guy right there in the corner?
Yeah, it's right here. This guy right here. This guy right here. You can't see them, but I can. You know what I mean?
So what's up, dude? I've been watching some of Andy's vlogs that he's been doing.
Yeah, Andy's on a good one, man. You guys, I guess it's the baldness, man. I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is,
Turn it
dude.
up to another level.
Fire.
Yeah,
So I saw your office got extra screens. You guys are all hooked up in there.
Yeah, so we got extra screens, but we are not even in there. So they're literally just waiting for us till we get back. But, luckily enough, we're able to work from home, and we're still able to, maneuver around and do everything that we need to. It kind of sucks. Some people aren't in the same, predicament, but, we make the best out of it.
Yeah. It kind of sucks when you can't work from home, dude. And here's the thing, like for me, you guys are 1099 people, right?
Yeah,
so like you don't work, you don't close, you don't get paid.
That stimulus check, that stimulus, yeah, we don't get none of that, guys.
Yeah, dude, that's gonna be tough. What's the sensation right now when you're talking to clients? Like what's the feeling?
So, I mean, there's a lot of like stuff going on in the air. And what I base myself a lot of is people go after the headlines. So they're going to read headlines everywhere, all over the place. Every day is something new. But it's our job right now more than ever to be able to stay closer to our clients and, be able to be that resource for them, letting them know in the front lines what really is happening, because like I said, you get distracted by one thing, your tia, your uncle, someone says something and now your mind's somewhere else. So what we've been doing is we've been very proactive and staying very close to our clients by sending them emails, texts, videos, anything to just keep that conversation and that flow going. Because once they don't hear from us, bro, it's like, yo, what's going on? And we're supposed to be their guiders in that aspect.
Isn't it crazy how like in a matter of like 2 to 3 weeks, bro, like nobody knows how to use Zoom video or do video chat. Now everyone does it.
It's crazy because like we'll go. There's this quote that goes, there'll be decades where nothing happens, and then there's weeks where decades happen. And that's literally what we've been going through right now. Like everything, every day, something new. You never know.
Dude, I was yesterday I was talking to a couple different teachers because school's closed, right? So
for the rest of the year, what the heck?
Dude, nuts. Okay, so this is the update that we got. School's closed indefinitely, which means they don't know if it's coming back. It's probably not going to come back for the rest of the semester. For the rest of the semester, it looks like it's not going to come back. So they're preparing the teachers for like they have distant learning, they're calling it. So like social distancing, same type of thing. Basically, it's teaching like this, right? Video teaching.
So how have you been doing it?
Officially, we're still on spring break, right?
Oh, okay.
So spring break ends this week.
I don't know what day it is, bro.
Yeah, I know. What day is it? It's when the sun comes up. I get up. No, so we got till Friday this week, and then the district is doing 2 weeks of professional development for the teachers. Because dude, there's a lot of teachers who they never open their email, not because they don't want to, because they don't know how. You know what I mean? Like they've been pen and paper for so long, for so many years. And now you're going to tell them, by the way, you got to go online with all your entire coursework. Like
if being virtual wasn't the most important thing back then, like now there's no doubt, like you need to be online. And if you're going to survive this next wave. 100%,
dude.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So they got 2 weeks to get their act together and like figure out how to do this for their particular course.
So what do you think happens in that instance for people, for example, that, they're completely outdated, and I don't mean that in a bad way, it's just that, you didn't keep up with times, what do you think you think they're just going to get cut? Like, sorry.
Well, okay, first of all, it's super hard to fire a teacher. Like,
right, because, exactly that reason.
Yeah, well, the teacher union is super strong. So literally, like you like kill somebody or sleep with a student, and other than that, like it's really hard to fire a teacher. Like it's really difficult. So there's a lot of teachers who have reached a tenure status where like trying to get them out is not going to be an easy thing. So what I think they're going to have to do is they're going to have to really partner up with somebody who's newer in the game. Like, you know, you got a veteran teacher who's been in it for 20, 25 years, never really cracked open a computer because they never had to. Now you need to partner in with that new teacher who's 25 years old, right? Who's new, but has been in the internet space. Yeah. And help each other out. Like one of them is going to say, I got all the content that we need for the course. You know, all the technical skill for the course. Let's merge the two and let's work together. Like now more than ever, it should be a collaborative space than anything else. Like my course, I've already had a lot of them because I created videos for a lot of them.
Right.
So I have a lot of it already squared away. I'm going to reach out to the other teachers in other schools that teach my course.
Right.
Be like, look, I have all the material. I'm going to create I'm going to finish up the entire thing.
Right. Right.
You guys feel free to use that. And then maybe they can help me out and create like online versions of the tests that I have.
Yeah.
And then like all together, now think about that though. Like the entire course for all the schools are going to be like fine-tuned.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like
that's good because I mean, you opened up the door for teachers that don't have that backup, and now you're providing that value to them. And in a way, I mean, I'm pretty sure you're not gonna do this for free because it's taking you time so you can, you know.
Dude, I could literally do that, right? And that's the beauty of it. And here's the funny thing, dude. Prior to this, there was a lot of like cutbacks for our school district, right? The school district was going broke, all that sort of stuff. And when teachers were talking about that, I kept telling teachers all the time, I'm like, dude, stop thinking that your job is secure. It's not secure. Like we are in archaic times the way we do school. Well, dude, like you're talking about decades happen in weeks. Like imagine this. Like imagine that you roll this thing out and it works, right? Or it partially works where you need to modify and adapt it a little bit so it works better.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you're like, guess what? We don't need all this overhead. We're going to cut down to this point and let's give this type of learning a shot. And let's give kids the opportunity to take courses like this. Dude, that's a huge shift. Now, if you have a course that's set up, like if my course is set up, it's one thing to be set up. It's another thing to be effective. Right. And so if it's a course that's effective and kids are learning from it and doing a good job of it, then imagine if I get to a point where I'm like, guess what? I'm willing to take on, 500 students or 1,000 students, and I'll charge them $1 a week. Bam. You know what I mean? Like
you take over the education system, schools go out of business, and you actually learn real shit.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, the school pays you, but they pay you per student, right?
Yeah.
Or I don't know. I'm just throwing spitball and stuff, right? But I mean, the model could change. You get what I'm saying? And now really good teachers, because I always believed that there are like really good teachers. There are teachers that kind of get by, and then there are teachers that are not so good, right? And
definitely.
I always said I'm like one of those in the middle, right? Because I know teachers that are freaking phenomenal, dude. Like I would even toot my wife's horn, right? Like she's a really good teacher. She puts a lot of different time and effort. And there's a good handful of teachers at my school that are just like where they set the bar. The bar is what they do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like they're the ones that are leading the way.
Yeah, and so if they can combine what they do along with modern technology, like they could be paid what they're worth versus what the school district pays them. You know what I mean? Like
it makes sense.
That's a huge difference.
Because then, I mean, you also got to take consideration, you guys teachers for that matter, don't get paid 12 months. They only get paid for the months they're in school, correct?
Well, they get an annual salary and you break it up however your annual salary is. Now, I mean, personally, like you start talking about teacher pay, this is where it gets iffy because a lot of teachers don't like to talk about this sort of stuff, right? Yeah. But I honestly feel that a teacher is paid a good wage, a very good wage when you add in the medical benefits and dude, you work 180 days a year. So
it makes up, I guess.
Heck yeah, with all the time, right? Like you have enough time to go do other things, right? And of course, it depends on what kind of teacher you are. Obviously, like an English teacher has to spend more time reading papers than a math teacher does, right? So there's different variations here, of time commitments. But overall, like you're still not anywhere near a time commitment compared to the private sector. You know what I mean? It's just different. Not at all. It's just different.
Dynamics. And what I was thinking as well, like now that everybody's staying home, even for people, I mean, like us, we have the luxury of working from home, but for corporate companies and different types of industries that now get accustomed to working at home, what happens when
When
this
you
is
gotta
all
go back.
over and we're all just, oh, dude, we can work from home and make it all happen.
Well, again, it comes down to efficiency, right?
Yeah.
Like if you are a business owner right now and you realize that, dang, we're still effective and efficient when everybody's at home, guess what I'm gonna cut? I'm gonna cut my rent. Why am I going to have an office space and pay utilities and all that overhead if I'm just as efficient or equal to without having that space? And if you can manage, your staff remotely and still grow, then that's going to be an option. Now you're just forced to test the theory that you had.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people are going to move towards that because I can see people excelling by working from home. And then I've been reading a lot of articles that the commercial side of real estate's going to be taking a hit once all this passes by because of that exact, theory that's going to be put into test these next couple of months.
Yeah. And that's the thing is this is just a forced trial, right? We have to figure it out. But even then, like there's major changes coming, dude. There's huge economic impact of what's happening right now. And you can talk to different real estate agents. I've talked to a bunch of different real estate agents in the past couple of weeks. And the ones that were producing, they're like, okay, well, this is what I need to do. They're taking an offensive approach. They're like, I'm making this change, I'm doing this, whatever it is. The ones that were like producing like, 3 or 4 or 5 deals a year, they're freaking out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this is the end of something. And what's worse is they can't go out and find a job right now. Like they're stuck. Yeah, they're stuck.
Like you gotta like literally squeeze the shit out of this lemon because.
Yeah. And it's a tough situation, like overall, dude. And it's going to go further. Okay, so I applied this morning for like a deferment on my mortgages, right? Because banks are doing that, right?
Yeah, the forbearance and all that.
The forbearance, right? So they're not kicking it away. They're just adding it to the back of your loan.
Well, this is a big misconception that I've already been seeing, and it's people think that forbearance is forgiveness, and
it's not.
Isn't. It's on the opposite. It's just like you said. It's tailing it at the end of your loan. You're still gonna have to pay it. It's just not right now.
It's just not right now, right?
Yeah, no, of course.
And so the reason is because I have multiple rental properties, and I'm doing it because I'm cognizant that chances are the people that are in those homes are at home, not working, possibly laid off. They're not going to have money for rent. Like it's going to cascade all the way down. And so, I have 3 mortgages with Wells Fargo. And so Wells Fargo allowed us to do 3 months with an additional 3 months after that first 3-month period is reviewed. Right.
Yeah, and they were saying that's crazy because they said that even at 1/4 of homeowners, apply for this forbearance, that's going to cost roughly around $70 billion. And that's the first time around. And then servicers that take on these loans only make about $10 billion a year. So there's going to be a lot of stuff happening once everybody starts, applying for this forbearance. But it is going to be, lender to lender, case to case. And just, what, I feel like if you don't need it, don't do it. And this is by all means, like no financial benefit to you at all.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're in a situation where you're good to go, you're good to go.
Keep doing it. Keep doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. But here's the other question. Like I'm telling you because I have single family homes, right?
Yeah.
So it's a different situation. What about people who have, 100 doors, like an apartment building, right? Like I'm going to be on a show tomorrow with Kenny and Crystal. They have the K&K podcast, and they literally, like at my house down the hill, there's an apartment building. They own that apartment building. Right. And so one of the questions I'm going to have for them is like, are you freaking out, dude? Like what if, an apartment building is usually a safe thing because you have a lower vacancy rate.
Yeah.
But what happens if half your apartment building is not paying the rent? You know what I mean? Like all of a sudden, like what, and on the flip side, on the mortgage, we throw it on the tail end. What happens to the rent? Is that rent forgiveness?
Like, well, yeah, it's like a trickle down effect. Like it starts from the renters not paying, then goes up higher. And like, then what?
But how do you get a renter to pay that back? Like if your rent is $2,000 a month and you skip 1 and 2, now that next month you owe 6. You didn't have it to begin with.
So then how do you expect to have it at the end? Yeah. And that's the problem we're going to face. A lot of people like that are going to take that step and do the forbearance. That's where you got to get your information correct, because they do have to pay it at the tail end. If they didn't have it from the beginning, what makes you think you're going to have it later down the line times 5 or whatever month you take it for?
Exactly. So as far as landlords are concerned, that's gonna, like, how do you treat that person? Like, okay, so you can't evict them right now. Well, when that gets lifted, does the eviction process start because they owe back rent?
I mean, I don't know. I can't tell you the,
I don't know
the answer.
either, dude.
We're gonna
I
have to
don't.
wait and find out. Because literally, like you said, it's every day there's something new happening. That you literally, what happened yesterday is already old news. That's what's happening today.
Yeah,
So
dude.
I mean,
And
that's I don't
but
know.
those are the questions that I'm like popping on the top of my head. Like as we're going through these things, those are the things that pop up in my mind. And and the truth is, we don't know,
That's
right?
exactly what I like. I'm like looking at you like I wish I had the answer because that's exactly the questions I have.
Yeah, but
But
and we're not the only ones that have those questions. Like there's a
no,
lot of people who are in very similar situations. I think of, I was talking to Sam Bakhtir
yeah.
yesterday, and he owns 110 gyms. Like, he was saying,
What
like,
happens when people aren't working out?
well, he has to close their doors, right? So,
Yeah,
and I asked him, I go, what do you do? He's like, look, I already talked to the landlords, and they understand. We've been there 7-8 years and never had a delinquent payment. This is not
yeah,
like something we did, right? This is something that's happening, and so
yeah. No, of
landlords
course, how are they
are
going to
are
cope?
understanding. But that's, those people, you go up the chain. The liquidity of what people have when it comes to cash gets better and better as you go up the chain. A single
Yep.
family owner like myself, I don't have the liquidity to, like, pay the rent for these
Cash
people for
reserve for the
6
next couple of
months,
months or
right?
something. Yeah, no,
Times
of
four
course.
properties. Like, it doesn't happen. But you move up into the apartment building. Well, the apartment buildings are usually not owned by multi-billionaires, right? They're
Nope.
owned by people who put in nice investments, maybe a couple partnerships. They don't have the liquidity for that.
No,
You
not
know,
at all.
but as you move up, there's people who do. But even then, that property manager who owns the different gyms,
Mhm.
they probably have a couple different strips, and so their overhead is huge, and they don't have the liquidity to, it still cascades all the way down. Like, I just wonder, like, who's going to end up paying this bill at the end? I guarantee you it's going to be the taxpayer.
Oh yeah, of course. It always comes out of our pocket.
Dude, it's nuts, man.
So
And
I mean, what do you all right. So the question that I'm getting a lot is is this a good time to buy? A lot of people are like, speculating that just because everything's going to poop, it's gonna correlate with the real estate prices. So I don't know. That my opinion is they're gonna stick to the same. I
okay,
don't
so
think it's gonna,
here's what I think. And this is contradicting. This is the nice thing about not having to sell real estate myself, is I can come out with the more real answer than the more steered
trying to
answer,
still
right? Yeah, yeah,
sell,
yeah.
but
Trying to
give you
still
right
sell. Okay.
information. Yeah, I know.
So when people ask me right now, I tell them, hold off.
Yeah,
Okay, so
definitely.
I tell them, hold off, one of two things. One, I think the mortgage rates are going to remain low. The reason why I think the mortgage rates are going to remain low is because as the economy shifts in a downward turn, they're going to try to stimulate it in any way possible. And if they raise interest rates and a down market, it's going to hurt, right?
Yeah,
So
no, of course.
so I think, and do I think it's going to stay at zero forever? No, but I don't
No.
think it's going to shoot up very high, right?
I believe it's going to do gradually as things start to progress. Gradually, as the economy starts coming back up, they'll gradually as well move that up as well.
Yeah,
But as far as the interest rate, I mean, what happened was we got just swarmed by a whole bunch of refinances,
yeah.
and it
So
literally was not enough for the banks to actually keep up with. And it
yeah,
sounds crazy, but that's how horses out of the barn and just completely ran. Everybody wanted to refinance.
yeah, which is awesome because rates were low, but the
Yeah, yeah,
banks
exactly.
but the banks basically closed their doors and they're like, well, we're not
But
taking that right now.
that's where I started getting a lot of calls because people were saying low rates, low rates, low rates, low rates. And I'm like, yes, yes, yes. But there's so much influx of business that the banks themselves can't keep up with what's coming in. So they have to hold their rates so that they can catch up and then
Yeah.
keep taking more on.
Yeah, well, and then we have the stimulus. So
Yeah.
they bought a lot of the mortgages off the
Mortgage-backed
secondary
securities.
market.
Yeah.
So that was a good thing. But now that the banks have freed up a lot of their cash reserves, so they can take on loans, they already see what's coming, and so they're changing their criteria. Now it's not a 500 credit score anymore. Now
No.
they bumped it up. Now it's not a 55% DTI. They bumped it. They changed that too. So everything that like, you got to watch where their money's going. The
Yeah.
banks are already setting themselves up where they're like, yes, our rates are low, but for you to get this, you have to be a much more qualified buyer.
Oh
The
yeah.
lower
All
stated
the
incomes, that
overlays
sort
are
of stuff.
getting switched around for sure.
Yeah. So it's nuts, but Also, on the one hand, mortgage rates are still going to be low,
They're
I
going to stay
think.
low, very low and attractive. I believe so as well.
On the other hand, the market's going to take a shift. The price point is going to come down. There's something, and I don't know how well these things correlate. I just noticed my own patterns, right?
Mm-hmm.
In 2008, one of the things that I saw was gas prices. I remember pumping my gas in 2008 for like $1.45 a gallon right here
Yeah.
in National City, dude. It was like I saw it. And right now I'm starting to see prices trickle down, right? Mainly it's because of supply and demand. There's people not driving.
Exactly.
So that sort of thing. Okay, so that's one thing that I'm noticing. The other thing is there's so many different sectors that have been hurt here that it's going to take a while for them to come back. And hot markets like Las Vegas are one of the ones that you have to keep an eye on. When casinos close, that's a scary thing, right?
Mm,
But
yeah.
you're going to see that market. That's usually our indicator. Markets like that, huge uptick, huge downtick. That and everything in the listings over 3 million. So
Yeah.
when the time when the time frame, the active time on market for those listings is longer, it's going to have a cascading effect. Like that's people in that high marker are
Mm-hmm.
not, those listings are not selling very quickly. They're
No.
sitting a lot longer. So pay attention to Vegas. Vegas starts going down fast, everybody else is following. But at least you have an indicator of what's going on in the market. So what I'm telling people is hold off if you're going to buy, hold off a little bit, stack your cash, because you might have an opportunity to do some other things, a little while down the road where
Yeah.
you're able to come up on something a little bit nicer. And like, think of it like this. Okay. So we have a neighborhood. We have this neighborhood. So picture a little neighborhood, cookie cutter like Eastlake, right? We have like maybe, I don't know, 10 properties in that neighborhood and they're listed at 300,000 a piece, right? Because they're all cookie cutters. They're all about the same thing. Well, you got the guy who lost his job, whose job is not coming back, and everything gets lifted, and he needs to downsize, and he's got to sell his home fast. What's he going to do? He's going to list his house, and he's going to undercut the competition.
Yep.
Then you got grandma's house, who, sadly to say, was one of the victims in the coronavirus, and we got to get rid of that property.
A lot of vacancies.
Well, now we got to get rid of that
Natural.
property. We're going to undercut that one. And that's going to be the trickle effect. And when you see things like Vegas going down, that's when the media says, "Uh-oh, prices are going down. This is a bad thing for the real estate market," and they fuel the fire.
So that's how they control it. Obviously, then a lot of people go back up to trying to buy and then raises the price up again.
We're just going to see
that sweet spot is where you right now we're trying to, hold off, save so that you're able to, act at the right time.
Yeah, if I'm a real estate agent, I'm telling people, look, the truth of the matter is you're buying this a long-term investment. And this is the truth. You're buying this as a long-term investment. Your home, you don't intend on leaving at any time. If you can afford the monthly payments and you fit the criteria as far as loans are concerned, then by all means, buy it. You're going to get a 30-year fix. Your mortgage is not going to change. Get into the property you want, become a homeowner and start your game. But don't pay attention to the value of homes going up and going down. That has nothing to do with you. You don't lose money on your house or make money unless you sell your home.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's just an up and down in the market. It's like your 401k right now. There's a lot of people who lost money in their 401ks. No, they didn't lose money. The only time they lose is when they sell their stock. At that point, they take an actual loss. Right now, it's a paper loss that's going to fluctuate. In like 5 or 7 to 10 years, it's going to be back where it was, if not higher. So leave it alone. So if you're going to buy a house, intend on being there and don't pay attention to the market after that. Just let it go. Right.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm telling, my buyers as a lender. I'm like, everybody's saying like rates are low, I want to buy. I'm like, you know what? Go anywhere else. I'm going to tell you the truth, even if you don't like to hear it. Yeah, right now rates are low, but wait until they actually become lower because of everything that's happening. And if you go anywhere else, they're either lying to you or they have some crazy product that we don't know about, which I highly doubt it, that everything's going to be the same. You're going to be at a hold. You're not going to get the rate that you want as of right now. So I would just say press the brakes.
Yeah, pump the brakes a little bit.
But stay active and informed,
Yes.
One good place that I get a lot of good information, I don't know if you've read into it, Housing Wire. It's free and it has a lot of information that's easy to read. They're quick digests and it's every day they're updating it with new articles and it's very, very helpful.
It's super informative, and
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
it's like I'm very up to date because I talk to a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm listening to a lot of stuff. I talk to a lot of different professionals. I get a bunch of mixed opinions, and I kind of make my own based on
Yeah.
what's going on in the market, what I see, right?
Definitely.
But any type of information as a consumer, my cousin for the other day hit me up. He's like, "Hey man, should I get into flipping right now?" And I was like, now I wouldn't. I would be putting a pause button. I've been talking to some people who are in the flip game, and they're
Yeah.
worried about the inventory they have coming up if they're even going to sell it, right? So they're concerned about that.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be getting into it right now. He's like, what should I be doing? And I'm like, if I were you, I would be stacking my chips and I
Mhm.
would be educating myself. Like, what do you mean? I go, you need in the next year and a half, 2 years, whenever this thing, is time to start getting the flipping game, you should be able to speak real estate by that time. It's
Yeah.
like, Loretta Stone or whatever the learning the language thing, right?
Rosetta Stone.
Rosetta Stone. Yeah, that thing, right?
Right.
Yeah. So it's like that, but you need to learn this language of real estate. So when we start sitting down and looking at this and we start talking even like on the loan game with DTI or what's the, all these
Yeah.
different acronyms, you should be able to understand what those are because you're going to be immersed in that. If you start getting in the flip game, you need to understand those things because otherwise you're going to people are just going to pull the wool over your eye and that's it. You're not going to know what's up.
And
It's
the
like
crazy
trying to
thing
be a
is that,
doctor and not speaking doctor.
yeah, no, it's crazy. I wouldn't know. But the crazy thing is that like we have that time right now,
Yeah.
and should be the perfect time for you to either start the project that you wanted to start or get educated on something that you wanted to always learn, and even learn new skills. Because honestly, a lot of stuff is going to move in our economy once we're out of this, and a lot of people are going to come out with ideas that you wish you came up with. But hey, if you don't use your time wisely right now, you're just going to waste it. And
Dude,
you're going to be back where you
100%.
were before, this all started.
Okay, speaking of improving your skills, so I just launched, right? Monday or Tuesday, I kick off my 4-week podcast program, helping people create their own podcast so they can take
Right.
control of their branding, their marketing, right?
Exactly.
Podcasting you've been doing for a while now. How much better are you at talking to clients, holding conversations? I mean, you were already a talker before, but how much have you improved?
So, given that the first time I started, I always wanted to be the person that talked. So it's helped me out ridiculously in understanding them, being quiet, letting them talk, extracting the information so that my response isn't a reaction, but rather a well thought out answer instead of me just trying to, right off the bat, say what right after what they say something. So it has helped out a lot. And then it just, the flow, learning how to just be calm. You're talking to someone, you don't know what they're going to say. You don't know what's going to come out of your words because based off what they say, but it helps you out a lot, ridiculously a lot. Like my talking skills have gotten way better just because I speak into a microphone with somebody next to me all the time.
Dude, that's funny you say that. I had David Meltzer on the phone. He's
Yeah.
the guy who helped.
Yeah, I know him. Yeah.
Yeah. So he told me, he's like, one of the best things you can do is learn to be interested instead of interesting. Right. And that's one of the things that exactly what you're talking about right there. That's what I learned in podcasting. Like, people are like, oh, well, you talk all day. I go, actually, I listen all day. Like that's one of the,
and that's the turning point that I've had as well. I'm just like, no, I listen and just jab, and it's a conversation. Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, when I first started, I always I had to have like a list of questions because I didn't know what I was going to say. Right. Like
Yeah,
I didn't know for sure.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
But now like it's an engaging conversation. Like I'm not worried about anybody that I interview because I'm going to ask some basic starter questions and then the conversation is going to go where it's going to go.
And that's how it is. It's like, you obviously anything you start doesn't just, take off right away. So you ease yourself into the conversation, you ask those, disarming questions, get through all that little, ice breaking. And then after that, it's sales course on its own, like literally. And then before you know it, you're just like, oh shoot. An hour and a half went by and then you're done. You're like, whoa, that was a good conversation. You look back at it and even the person next to you was like, I was not going to lie. Like I was kind of nervous at the beginning, but after I got into it, I'm like, dude, I'm ready to do this again.
Hey, how much did they love you after, even though they did all the talking?
It's crazy. It's like, dude, they leave and they're like, dude, that guy's a great listener. Cause all you did was literally listen and talk about their favorite subject themselves, everybody's favorite subject for that matter. And it just makes everything better. Cause you actually, if you listen from a purpose standpoint that you want to actually help them with something or understand where they're coming from, you don't have to fake it. You don't have to, come up with something witty. It just naturally flows and comes out of you. And it doesn't come out perfect. It comes out just right.
Yeah. I like that. I like that because there's no such thing as perfect. So let me ask you this. How has your referral business grown since you've been doing podcasting?
So it has. I love it because now I'm able to share freely without, coming to somebody and trying to hard sell them on what I do. It's just part of the conversation. And in between, I have had people that, hey, I actually have a buddy that wants to refinance. Bam, they send them. We're working on a refinance, a cash out refinance for them right now, actually as we speak. And it's just stuff like that. Like, hey, my buddy, after the conversation we had, I have him, he's interested in buying. And even themselves like, hey, like now that I'm here, like, well, what does it take? And it just helps out a lot because it's a different aspect of prospecting without having to, be that hard seller, pushy on person. It's literally just having a conversation like we are right now.
Dude, 100%. So
the trust gets built right away because you don't come in as that, I'm going to be your real estate lender person. You're here just like, yo, we're conversating, chit-chatting. What's up?
Yeah, dude. And that's one of the points that I make in my presentation when I'm talking about the power of podcasting is exactly that. Prospecting before I had a podcast sucked, dude. It was horrible.
The mindset, you're like, I have to go prospect. But now it's like, I have to go podcast.
Yeah, it's the same P, right? It's the same P, yeah. But there's a difference too. Like when I prospected before, it was no. Like how many people that you asked to be on your podcast say no?
None, bro. They're all like, dude, this is the day. Or even, hold on, they're asking me to come on.
Yes. Yeah, that's the crazy part.
Turntables turn.
Dude, and that's what I keep, that's for me when I talk to people about the power of podcasting. I'm like, look, dude, you've been paying this marketing company, I don't know how much, to send you leads that are cold and nobody even knows who you are. You still have to do all this work and you're still going through the nose. Is it helping? Or would you rather have a business where people call you and send you business and recognize you as an expert and know your brand and like you and trust you? And dude, like that's the power of podcasting. That's what it's doing for people.
And it's still so undertapped, it's still so undertapped in. Like so many people don't know the power of this. Cause just off of this, like you could cut this piece in content like 4 different ways, repurpose it, use it for short clips. Like it's like basically one thing that you're able to use into multiple like content like aspects, so it's not just one thing that you get caught on like, oh, it's just voice. No, you got video, you could do short videos, you could do short clips. Like, dude, there's endless amounts of things you could do with it. Instead of paying someone else, you could probably pay your buddy that wants to learn how to edit to do this for you, and it's not that hard.
Yeah, dude.
It was thousands of dollars.
So in my presentation, I have this, one of my podcast secrets is let me teach you to have people learn to listen to your podcast, like teach you how to get people to listen to your podcast by raising the volume. And what I say on there is it's not the volume like the little meter where on your headphones. It's the volume of the content that you're putting out. And it's exactly that. It's taking a 30-minute long form piece of content and chopping that thing up like a Benihana's, right?
Yeah, and getting those what I like to call those clickbaits. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. You give them the information that they want to hear, and then that's how you reel them in.
That's it. And then they know what you do. They recognize you. It's crazy how that works.
Yeah. And it's crazy because I do walk. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure it's happening. You're freaking all over the place. Like you walk anywhere and you're like, hey, you're that guy that does the podcasting. You're one of the bros.
You know what's funny? They recognize, like, because I wear my shirts everywhere.
Yeah.
That's what I get most of the time. Hey, I seen that before. I'm like, yeah, probably me too. But it's me wearing shirts.
You're the guy that yells at his phone like crazy, man. I love your energy. I'm like, yeah, that's me, man. What's up? And I'm just like, nah, man. Like that's not me at all.
So funny, dude. No, I have.
But yeah, it's just crazy what's been like, everything that's going on. I don't know where this is gonna go tomorrow. Like I said, there's something new going on every day, but interesting times. I feel like 10 years down the line, we're going to look back and be like, hey, remember that one time 2020 when we were all quarantined?
Dude. Well, what about like the seniors graduating high school? They don't get a graduation, maybe? Like they don't get prom, grad night, like all that stuff?
I'm like, dude, I couldn't go to prom because I was a freaking tonto. Like you guys just straight up can't.
Everybody's quarantined. Mickey Mouse isn't even open.
Yeah, I know. So, I mean, a lot of people are thinking that this is going to be like the next baby boomers age.
Oh, dude, I said that like the first week. I was like, check it out, dude. In January, February next year, huge increase. Okay, so So right before I left school, the kids were renaming the coronavirus the boomer remover.
The move. Yeah,
I was
yeah. I
like,
heard that.
damn,
I even got
that's
to hear that.
harsh,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So that's harsh. It's funny, but it's harsh. So, anyways, so I had this theory. I went on Henish's podcast, and it's called "I Have a Theory," right? And so you're supposed to
Yeah.
come in with this theory, whether or not it's real or not, you believe it or not. Just come in, so it's something to talk about. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I had this theory. I was like, what if this is more like a manufactured scenario? So think about it. Like if it was really taking out just the upper older people or the people with underlying
You're
conditions,
onto
let's
something.
wipe out the things that don't work and let's bring in the new ones that do work.
It's
I was
like,
like,
yeah, no, yeah. It's like forced like revolution of like upgrade.
this is like if it turns out that this was made like by somebody, like this is a mass genocide.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, and if you really want to get like down to it, because I get pretty
Like
like deep into
conspiracy theory?
conspiracy theories.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude, I like
yeah.
that stuff.
So I mean, there's those big boards that are like I think somewhere out in the Middle East or somewhere out in Europe where it's like scripted, written down in a couple different languages that there is need to be a mass genocide to wipe off a certain amount of millions of people, and you never know. But I mean, it's just stuff like that. Like, go do your research. I mean,
Bro,
I
even the
never like to.
movies, Marvel,
Yeah.
like, I mean, Thanos was literally like, boom, half the
And
population
that's what I
gone.
say. I'm like, all those subliminal messages, you know, if you really, really put on your like conspiracy goggles and like if you pay attention to that, like just right now they came up with a new series called Pandemic on Netflix.
Yeah.
Like you think, or what was the other one?
Contagion?
Contagion. Like you think like this is a. Do you think this is so like casualty? No, you think this like no, dude. Like there's some like correlation to this going on.
This is
Right
Walking Dead, baby. Like, that's
here.
what's
You know
going to
what I
happen.
mean? But it said we didn't get freaking zombies.
Right?
We got quarantined.
Well, I always said, dude, I would survive the zombie apocalypse if they were Walking Dead zombies. Because if they were World War Z zombies, like, it's over, dude. It's over.
Dude. I'm done. Like, I'm just like I'm quarantined for sure, bro.
It didn't matter. They're like ants at that point. They just crawl over everything. No, dude, but that's one of those things like you don't know what happens. Nobody has answers, and because nobody has answers, everybody speculates, and because everybody speculates, we come up with our own crazy stories and our own crazy answers.
And that's what I tell like a lot of people. Like, I mean, like my mom watches the news a lot. I'm not huge on the news. Actually, I'm not big on them at all. But I do like to watch them so that I could use that as a piece of information for me to compare with everything else that I'm going to go out and research on. Because if I just stick to that source, like whatever they said could be bullshit. And I feel some of the stuff at times is.
I feel like a lot of the times it is.
Yeah,
it's just to grab your attention.
Don't want to offend anybody, but like still, like I say do your own research. And what I mean by doing that is literally clicking on Google, research a subject, and then read and you come up with your own opinions, and everybody's opinion is going to be different, but don't let somebody's point of view dictate your opinion to the fullest.
Yeah.
You have your own.
I'm a big fan of just talk to other people. Like everything from even like elections and stuff. Just talk to people. People are people, dude. Like we have certain things that we care about. We want to make sure there's a roof over our head. We make sure there's food on the table. Like most people are good people. They want to get by life and have a good life. Like a lot of the stuff that you see on TV where they categorize like, the red wants to do this and the blue wants to do this. And these people are like, they group you together and give you a narrative. And then you start watching and you pick a side, right? Cause you're watching.
They're dividing us by product.
Yeah. And so, talk to people, you'll realize real quick that you and I might not disagree or might not agree, right? We might disagree and that's okay. But it doesn't take away from the fact that we have other things in common. There's other stuff that we can talk about. There's other stuff, there's even a happy medium in whatever we disagree on. Yeah. Every once in a while, we're going to be a hard, like, nah, that's not me. But for the most part, in most issues, we're good.
So I got asked a question on Instagram and they said, so what happens post COVID-19, We're all working at home, we keep seeing that this gets blamed on China, and just like everything else in our history, World War II got blamed, to the Germans because they blamed the Jews. So do you feel like that's what the general public is going to do? Try to put a blame and try to, pinpoint this on somebody so that they could feel like, it wasn't our fault.
It depends on how bad it is.
Okay.
That's my opinion. Like if it turns out that, people die, but it's like less than the flu, then this is going to be one of those things where everybody has to point a finger at somebody, right? But if it turns out that the number of deaths is nothing more than like what the flu was, they're going to point the finger at like whoever's in charge. So presidents or whatever, like you guys overreacted, blah, blah, blah. Or it turns out to be really bad. And then those people get praised for putting a stop and not making it worse. Right. And then it's like, where did it come from? But I don't think it's going to be one of those, like, unless it turns out to be like this is man-made and somebody like created it, then I don't think it's going to be one of like that kind of point finger. It's just going to be like, this is the origination and this is where it came, or like came from bats or this particular region or whatever.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff. But
and that's a crazy thing. This is what this is why I love speaking to people, because your opinion's completely different than probably mine, than somebody else's, but through, us speaking it, people are able to create their own opinions.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about, right? and as I'm telling you my story or my thing, like you're like, you know what, that's a good point. And it kind of changes your narrative a little bit, right? And then when I'm listening to yours, I'm like, that's a good point too. Like all of a sudden, like you start really rationalizing, like it's good to question things. It's good to have an opinion, right? It doesn't mean it's fact. You don't have anything that's fact, but you're asking, you're questioning, you're thinking, you're inquisitive. That's what learning is. It's you figuring out what's going on.
And learning and trying to, rationalize for it to make sense to you.
Absolutely. Man.
Yeah.
Damn. Time already went by. Holy crap.
What are we at? See, hey, this is another thing. Like
that's what I'm talking about.
That loop, and you fall into that, and you're just kind of going. You can literally do it every day. But it's crazy because right before this, I was literally on hold with the bank, going back and forth. So I was like, you know what, dude, last one, and I have to freaking hang up and log on to this because I'm like, dude, I literally back and forth with the banks, with everything going crazy, trying to like get information for clients. Deadlines switching up, things take longer. So I mean,
that's why people need to work with professionals like you, because like the banks are understaffed. So it's not like they have a lot of people to answer the phones.
And you said Wells Fargo earlier. I've tried calling Wells Fargo to help my client to get more information, and I'm being put on hold for more than an hour, just because I'm dealing with their bank. But if I would have done your loan originally, bro, I know exactly what's going on. And I can just be like, text message, answer back. Hey, like, dude, you just got to pay this by this time.
Direct to underwriters or whatever. Yeah.
Dude, like,
that's crazy. The big difference, dude. And that's the crazy, dude. I had to activate a debit card that for whatever reason didn't activate the right way. So I had to call and it didn't register. Dude, I was on the phone, like on hold for like 2 hours, dude, to activate a card.
I'm so impatient when it comes to waiting for things. So I was literally heated, man. Dude. But hey, we go out and do anything for our clients to make sure that they don't have to go and do that, because it's easier for me to get the information and then explain it to them. And, you know what to ask. Yeah, exactly. And if I send my client out to freaking war without no freaking like guns or anything, then how are they going to know?
They're going to hate you after that.
Exactly. So you know what? I take care of my people. So
that's right.
Be the least, man.
All right, dude, I got to head out. I got another one at 4:00.
Dude, keep doing your thing, man, and we'll circle back like always. Hope you guys stay safe. Hope your family's doing well. And you know what? Hope we get past this and we're able to go get Wendy's again.
We will, dude. We will. 4 for 4.
Yeah, 4 for 4, man. Have a good one, bro. Thank you for having me.
All right, dude. Peace.
Peace.